In the following examples, we will obtain the Fourier series of functions having even and odd symmetries. Therefore, it is important that you review the properties of even and odd functions, which are very useful in this topic. Because knowing the properties of even and odd functions would make the job of finding the Fourier coefficients a lot easier. And you might be able to tell yourselves, Fourier series is just a piece of cake. 'Di ba? Sobrang dali lang 'yan kung alam mo yung properties ng mga even and odd functions. And I have a video specifically for this topic. So, if you want to review, please check out the link in the description box if you need to review the properties of even and odd functions. Paano sir kung wala akong time? Don't worry, because if you don't have much time, I will insert the necessary info about even and odd functions that we're gonna need as I discuss the solution to the problems. So, let's get started. The first thing that we should do is to identify the symmetry of the given waveform. So, we notice here that the graph in the left side of the y-axis is just a reflection of the graph on the right side. Therefore, this waveform or graph is symmetric with respect to the y-axis. So if that is the case, the function is said to be even. Okay? So ilagay natin dito, f of t is even. Mahalaga yan. I-identify natin kung ano ang symmetry. Paano natin malalaman kung even yung function? Again, by simply looking at the graph, kung ang graph sa kaliwa at yung graph sa kanan ay magkamukha. Kasi ito naman, dire-diretso lang yan eh. No? Kasi nga periodic yung function. Okay? Siyempre, hindi ko na lang inilagay, but it's understood that there is a waveform that repeats on the left side. And we can see that this waveform here is just the same as the waveform on the other side. That's why the function is said to be even. Okay? Now, what is our mathematical representation of an even function? An even function satisfies this equation. F of negative t is equal to f of t. Ano ang ibig sabihin nito? This only means that the graph on the left side, y left, because this t is negative. So negative t is the negative side of the graph. So the graph on the left side is the same as the graph on the right side. Ayan, kapag ang graph sa kaliwa at yung graph sa kanan ay magkagaya, that means the function is even. Okay? Mahalaga na ma-establish natin yan ha. Bakit? Kasi magagamit natin yung even properties ng waveform na ito sa pagko-compute ng mga Fourier coefficients. Okay? Now, anong sunod natin gagawin? The next thing to do is to formulate the equation for the function. Bakit? Kasi wala tayong given f of t. Ang given lang dito is yung graph. So, how do we do that? Isulat natin dito. Yung f of t natin, kung mapapansin natin, ay isang line segment. Mula 0 hanggang dito. Okay? So, alam naman natin na this is half of 2 pi. So, this must be pi. Okay? So, in the interval 0 to pi, this function is a line. Okay? Whose equation is, remember, the equation of a line, y is equal to mx plus b. Kung saan yung b, ang kanyang y-intercept, na dito ay kitang-kita natin the y-intercept is 0 kasi dumaan siya doon sa origin. So we only need to find the slope of this line segment. What is its slope? The slope is equal to the rise over the run, 'di ba? M is equal to delta y over delta x. What is delta y from 0 to pi? Delta y is 4. So we have 4 over what is the run, no? So the change in x is from 0 to pi, so that's pi. Okay? So y is equal to mx plus b. Remember, y equals mx plus b. This b is now 0. This y is our f of t. So f of t is equal to 4 over pi times, you replace x with t. Why? Because our x-axis here is no longer x. It's now t. Okay, because it represents time. So, our f of t is 4 over pi t. But that is in the interval 0 to pi. Okay? So yun ay mula sa 0. Okay? Kapag ang t ay equal to or greater than 0 but less than pi. Okay? So we have another line segment from pi to 2 pi. Okay? But since the function has an even symmetry, ang gagamitin natin is not 0 to 2 pi anymore. Ang gagamitin natin is yung kalahati ng period, no? So, sinabi ko in the previous discussion that sometimes we use the interval 0 to t. Okay? But since we are solving a problem that involves an even symmetry, we will use negative t over 2 to t over 2 instead. Okay? So, ang kalahati ng period natin ay pi. So, ang gagamitin nating limits is not 0 to 2 pi anymore, but rather negative pi to pi. Okay? Ito yon. This is our negative pi and this is our pi. Why? Because the time interval from 0 to 2 pi is just the same as the time interval from negative pi to pi. No? So from negative pi to pi, still that's 2 pi. Okay? So since the function is even again, that is applicable. But what is the equation of the function from 0 to negative pi? Okay, so this is similar to this except that it has a negative slope. So gawin lang natin negative 4 over pi t yan. Okay? That is when t is greater than negative pi, greater than or equal to negative pi but less than 0. Hindi natin dito isinama yung 0. Bakit? Kasi dito kasama yung 0 sa taas. Oh, para hindi sila mag-overlap. Okay? So now, na-establish na natin yung equation ng f of t. What is the next step? The next step is to find the period. Ano ba ang period ng function? Okay? So for this function, kitang-kita naman natin, kailan ba naulit yan? Naulit yan from 0 to 2 pi. 'Di ba? Kaya ang period natin ay 2 pi. But again, kapag tayo ay nag-integrate, hindi natin gagamitin yung 0 to 2 pi. Instead, ang gagamitin natin is yung interval na negative pi to pi. Bakit? Because it's an even function. And using negative pi to pi would result to a simpler solution as compared to using 0 to 2 pi. No? Tatagalogin ko ha. Kung gagamitin mo yung 0 to 2 pi, mas matrabaho yung solution. Kaya ang gamitin mo na lang para mas madali, negative pi to pi. No? Yun ang isa sa mga benefit kung alam mo yung properties ng even function. Okay? Now, let us solve for AO. Okay? Compute na natin yung AO nito. Ano ba ang average value ng function? Okay? So, remember, the formula is 1 over t times the integral from 0 to t. So, remember, hindi na tayo mag-integrate from 0 to t. Ang gagamitin na natin is from negative t over 2 up to t over 2 of the function, which we know is even. Okay? Kaya nilagyan ko dito ng subscript na e. No, to indicate that this function that we are integrating is an even function. So f of e, f sub e, yan, t dt. Okay, so this is now the average value of the function. Now, anong important thing ang kailangan nating i-recall kapag nag-i-integrate tayo ng isang even function? Okay, we need to recall an important property. Again, kung napanood mo yung video, you'll know. But kung hindi, I will remind you, no? May property kasi ang mga even function, no? Kapag nag-integrate ka ng isang even function f of e in a symmetric interval. Sir, ano yung symmetric interval? Yun ay ang limits mo, parehas ang numerical value. Pero magkaiba ng sign. Yung isa negative, yung isa positive. Sir, bakit ganyan? Kasi nga, ganito yung sitwasyon natin, oh. Here, we have a definite integral involving a symmetric limit. No? From negative t over 2 up to t over 2. So, ginawa ko na lang yung negative a to a. Remember, in calculus, that when we are integrating, we get the area under the curve. No? So, basically, the integral represents the area under a curve. So, kung yan ay negative a to a, kukunin mo yung area sa kaliwa at saka sa kanan. No? Magkaparehas yung area nila. 'Di ba? So kung magkaparehas yung area sa kanan at area sa kaliwa, huwag mo nang i-integrate yung nasa kaliwa. Ang i-integrate mo na lang is yung nasa kanan at i-multiply mo ng 2. Okay? That is why this is the same as integrating the given function from 0 to a instead of from negative a to a. But you have to multiply it by 2. Okay? So now, ilagay na natin dito, no? Meron na tayo ngayong conclusion that for even functions, no? For even functions, paano na kinukompute yung AO? AO is equal to 1 over t. Tapos ito, papalitan natin ito. So magiging 2 times this, kaya magiging 2 over t yan. 2 over t times the integral of the given even function. We will integrate now from 0 up to t over 2. Okay? We integrate from 0 to t over 2. Now, let us solve for AO. Okay, tandaang mabuti yan ha. This is a property of even functions. AO is 2 over, what's our period? Our period is 2 pi times the integral of, what's the given function? No? From 0 to t over 2. So from 0, what is our t over 2? T over 2 is pi. So 0 to pi. What is the equation from 0 to pi? Again, the equation from 0 to pi is 4 over pi t. So we have 4 over pi t. And then I write dt here. Okay? So of course, these two will cancel. May matitira tayong 1 over pi. Tapos itong pi na to, ilalabas ko. So magiging 4 over pi siya. Okay? Bakit? Because this is a constant. Now, integrating this will give me t squared over 2, right? Na-evaluate natin from 0 to pi. Now, let's evaluate the lower and the upper limit. Okay, so here, makakaroon tayo ng 4 over pi squared. Pero itong 2 constant, so pwede ko na siyang ilabas. So 4 over 2, that's 2. So we have 2 over pi squared as our coefficient or multiplier. Now, I replace t with the upper limit. So here, I will get pi squared minus, I replace it with 0, 0. Ay, shit! No? So, itong pi squared na ito magka-cancel, kaya may matitira tayo na 2. Okay? So, this 2 is now the average value of f of t. Okay? So, tandaang mabuti ha, pag even function ang kinukuhanan ng Fourier series, ito yung gagamitin mong formula ng AO. Ano? So, sa halip na mag-integrate ka nung dating formula na 1 over t, multiply mo na lang siya ng 2. Pero instead of integrating from 0 to the period, you just integrate from 0 to half of the period. Okay? So, tandaan ha, pag nag-integrate ka from 0 to half of the period, ito naman, imumultiply mo lang ng 2. O, di ba? Madali lang. Now, after this, what is the next step? The next step is to solve for an. Let's write the formula for finding an. An is equal to 2 over t times the integral of the given function f of t times cosine. Remember, for an, we have cosine. Cosine 2 n pi t over capital letter T dt. Okay? And since this function is even, instead of integrating from 0 to t, we integrate from negative t over 2 up to t over 2. We also have to consider the fact that the function is even. Baka makalimutan mo yan ha. Lagay natin dito ng subscript na e to indicate that it's an even function. Now, ano ba ang rule kapag nagmumultiply tayo ng dalawang functions? Meron ba tayong rule dyan? Yes. Ilagay muna natin dito. Remember that this f of t is an even function. Okay? How about the cosine function? What type of function is cosine? Okay, remember that cosine x is an even function. Okay, and because it's even, it has to satisfy this equation. Cosine of negative x is equal to cosine x. Kasi nga even siya. Ito yung f of negative t is equal to f of t natin kanina. Ito, balik ko lang, f of negative t equals f of t. Now, lagay natin dito, ang cosine ay isang even function. Now, kapag nag-multiply tayo ng dalawang even functions, ano ang ating nakukuha? Again, if you review the video, you will know that an even function multiplied to another even function will give you uneven function as well. Ayan. Tandaang mabuti. An even function times another even function would give you an even function. Therefore, itong buong ito, pag pinagsama natin, even siya. Right? Kung siya ay even at i-integrate natin siya, again, symmetric yung ating limits. Applicable pa rin yung rule natin kanina. Remember the rule for integrating even functions? Ano nga yung rule na yon? The integral of an even function from negative a to a is equal to 2 times the integral from 0 to a of the given function, which is even. Okay? So, kung mag-i-integrate tayo, remember that this given function times this cosine would yield an even function. At pag nag-integrate ka ng even from negative t over 2 to t over 2, ang katumbas niyan, i-integrate mo na lang siya mula 0 hanggang t over 2, pero ito imumultiply mo ng 2. So, kung imumultiply natin yan ng 2, i-revise natin yung formula. At gumawa tayo ngayon ng generalization. That for even functions, ano na ngayon? Ang gagamitin nating formula para sa an. An is now equal to, itong 2 na to, imumultiply ko ng 2. So, magiging 4. 4 over t times the integral of, instead of integrating from negative t over 2 to t over 2, mag-integrate na lang tayo from 0. No? Hanggang t over 2. Bakit? Kasi yan ay property ng even function. Okay, sulat natin dito, f sub e of t times cosine of 2n pi t over the period dt. So yan ha, ito na yung gagamitin nating formula sa pag-compute ng an whenever we are obtaining the Fourier series of an even function. Now, let us substitute. An is equal to 4 over, what is the period? Kanina, ang period ay na-determine na natin. 2 pi siya, di ba? So, 4 over 2 pi times the integral from 0 to, ano ang kalahati ng period? 0 to pi na siya. And then, ano yung given function? Ang given function from 0 to pi, di ba ito yon? From 0 to pi is 4 over pi times t. So, that's 4 over pi times t. And multiply it by cosine of 2n pi t over capital letter T, which is 2 pi. And then, dt. Okay? So, simplify natin yung an. Simplify natin. This becomes, okay, 4 over 2 is 2. Okay? 4 over 2 is 2. However, I have to multiply that 2 by 4. Okay? So, makakaroon tayo ng 8 sa taas. Tapos, itong pi na to, imumultiply ko. So, magiging 8 over pi squared times the integral of t times, anong matitira dito? T, cosine of, makakancel yung 2 pi. So, cosine of nt dt. And I will evaluate it from 0 to pi. Okay? So, ngayon, evaluate natin ang definite integral na ito. An is equal to, oops, remember that this requires integration by parts, no? But if you know the formula for integrating the product of a power function and the cosine function, hindi mo na kailangang mag-integration by parts, no? So, if you don't know, binigyan ko yan ng review dun sa last video ko, no? So, ngayon, sasabihin ko pa rin, okay? Paano ba tayo mag-integrate ng product ng dalawa? So, kopyahin ko lang to ha. 8 over pi squared times, okay, kapag nag-integrate ka ng t, cosine of a times t, kung saan ang a natin ay n, ang formula niyan is 1 over a squared, no? So, yung a natin ay n. So, 1 over n squared times, kung cosine, unahin mo yung cosine. Kopyahin mo lang siya. Cosine and t. Kung cosine, dapat plus. Tapos, yung sunod is t over a. Remember, our a here is n. Okay? Times sine naman, no? Sine of a times t. Now, yan ang i-evaluate natin from 0 to pi. Okay? I-evaluate natin yung integral is equal to 8 over pi squared. So, lahat ng t dito papalitan ko ng pi. Okay? So, this becomes cosine of n times pi, cosine of n pi over n squared. Okay, plus, for the second term, I will replace t with pi. So this becomes pi over a, which is n, no? And here, I will replace t with pi, no? Palitan ko lang to ha, para hindi tayo malito, no? Gawin ko siyang n, at ito gawin ko lang n. Okay? So, kapag pinalitan ko itong t ng pi, ang makukuha ko sin n pi. And remember that sin n pi is 0 for any value of n. And then for the lower limit, minus. For the lower limit, we will replace t with 0. Okay? Here, cosine 0 is 1. So, may matitirang 1 over n squared plus I will replace t with 0. So, t times sine, okay, magsisiro na yung term na yun. Okay? So, now, simplify natin. Ano ang expression for an? For an, we have 8 over pi squared times cosine n pi. Remember that cosine n pi can be expressed as negative 1 raised to n. Okay? Copy ko lang yung n squared. And then, meron tayo ditong 0 and then minus 1 over n squared. Okay? Pwede pa ba natin itong isimplify? Yes, pwede pa natin isimplify yan. Paano? Sulat na lang natin dito sa baba kasi hindi nakasya doon. An is equal to, common factor yung n. So, 8 over, gawin ko na lang siyang n pi, at i-square ko na lang sila kasi parehas naman silang nakasquare. Tapos, sa loob, may matitira na ano? Negative 1 raised to n minus 1. Okay? So, pwede pa ba natin itong isimplify? Yes, actually pwede pa. Bakit? Because remember that if this n is even, anong makukuha natin? This is 1. Okay? So, if this n is even, this is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0 and that will give us an equal to 0. Okay? Sulat na natin dito yung an, no? Yung an na yan ay equal sa, again, ito ay magzi-0 kapag ang n ay even. Okay? Even siya. No? Now, how about if n is odd? If n is odd, this becomes negative 2, right? Because this is negative 1 minus 1. That's negative 2. Negative 2 times 8, that gives us negative 16. So, negative 16 over n pi squared for odd values of n. Okay, so this is now the expression for an. So mamaya, hindi na natin gagamitin yung even n. Bakit? Kasi for even values of n, ang an ay 0. Kaya ito na lang yung gagamitin natin. An is equal to negative 16 over the quantity n pi squared, no? And here, all n's have odd values. Okay? Next. Ang sunod is mag-compute tayo ng Bn. Okay, mag-compute tayo ng Bn. Ano ang formula para sa Bn? Kagaya lang ng an, papalitan mo lang yung cosine, gagawin mo lang siyang sine. So that's 2 over t times the integral of the given function. Remember, the function is even times this time sine. Sine of 2n pi t over capital letter T and then dt. So, the function is even, so we integrate from negative t over 2 to t over 2. Tingnan natin kung may property tayong maa-apply dyan. This function is even. So, even siya, no? We have an even function, imumultiply natin sa sine, no? But sine function is odd, okay? Add ang sine function. So, tandaan natin ha, sine of x is odd. And because of that, meron tayong property, no? Sine of negative x equals negative of sine x. Yan yung property ng mga odd functions. Okay? Now, what if I multiply an even function and an odd function? What do I get? No? Kapag nag-multiply tayo ng even, i-multiply natin siya sa odd, ano ang nakukuha natin? Ang nakukuha natin ay isang odd function. Okay? Now, meron ba tayong property na kapag nag-evaluate tayo ng odd function in asymmetric interval? Meron bang property para dyan? Yes. Okay? Kapag nag-integrate ka ng isang odd function, no? Lagay natin dito. In asymmetric interval, negative a to a, ang makukuha nating sagot ay 0. Okay? So, tandaan ha, ang makukuhang sagot ay 0. I-explain ko yan mamaya sa next example. But for the meantime, yan na muna ang iyong tandaan. No? So, ano pala ang mangyayari dito? Ang mangyayari dyan, because this is add. Alin yung add? Yung product nung dalawa. Na i-integrate mo from negative t over 2 to t over 2 na symmetric yung interval. Eh, anong rule? Again, the rule is, if you integrate an add function f sub o in a symmetric interval, negative a to a, the answer is always 0. So, di ba ang dali niyan? Kung alam mo yung property na yan, hindi mo na ito integrate, no? Pero imagine, if you don't know this property, tapos pahirapan ka, nagkamali ka pa sa pag-integrate, no? Tapos may sagot ka, napakahaba-haba ng solution mo. No, hindi mo alam, ang sagot lang pala 0, di ba? So that's the advantage of knowing these properties. Hindi ka na magsosolve. Matik yan, no? Bn is equal to 0. So tatandaan ha, therefore, for even functions, no? So for even functions, Bn is always 0. Sir, is this always the case? Yes, always 0. Okay? So, tandaang mabuti. Napadali yung trabaho mo kasi hindi ka na mag-co-compute. Matik na yan. Okay. So, now, anong sunod? Ang sunod is i-express na natin yung Fourier series. Ano na yung kanyang f of t? Sulat na natin dito. Ano na yung f of t nung problem na ito? Remember that f of t is equal to AO. Ano yung ating average value na na-compute kanina? The average value is equal to 2 plus, okay, summation of, remember that's summation of AN cosine plus BN sine, no? So, unahin natin yung AN. Ano yung AN natin? Yung AN natin ay ito, no? Negative 16 over n pi squared. Sulat natin. Negative 16 over n squared pi squared. At imumultiply natin yan ng cosine of n pi t over t. Okay? At ang period natin ay 2 pi. So, magkakancel yung 2 pi sa taas at sa baba. Kaya cosine nt na lang siya. Okay? From n equals 1 to infinity. Okay, next. Yung bn natin, remember that bn is 0. So, tapos na ito. Hanggang dyan na lang yan. No? However, meron tayo dito mga terms na pwedeng ilabas. Ano yon? Ito, yung negative 16 at saka pa yung mga constant yan. Okay? So, since they are all constants, pwede natin silang ilabas sa summation sign. No? Imagine, yan ay integral sign. Di ba kapag may constant sa loob ng integral sign, nilalabas mo siya. So, ilabas natin, magiging 2. At itong plus na to magiging minus na. Minus 16 over yung pi sa baba, pi squared. Tapos saka natin lagyan ng summation. Ang matitira lang dyan is yung variable na n. No? So may matitira tayo ditong cosine nt, cosine of nt over etong n squared. Okay? Kasi nagbabago yan eh. Nagbabago siya from n equals 1 to infinity. However, may nabanggit tayo kanina dito na yung an ay non-zero lang kapag mayroon tayong add values ng n. No? So, hindi na natin isasama yung even. Kaya dito, ilalagay natin na n is add. Okay? So, tandaan ha, we now have f of t equal to 2 minus 16 over pi squared times the summation of cosine nt over n squared from n equals 1 to infinity. Kung saan ang values ng n dito ay add lamang. Bakit? Kasi pag naglagay ka dyan ng even n, ang makukuha mong sagot ay 0. Bakit? Napatunayan na natin kanina, ayan, ang an ay 0 for even values of n. Okay? So, bago tayo mag-proceed dun sa next example, gawa muna tayo ng summary. Sir, anong summary? Yung mga formulas na ginagamit for even functions. Okay? Lagay natin summary for even functions. For AO, paano nga natin kinocompute yung AO? That's 2 over t times the integral from 0 to t over 2 na lang, no? Of the given even function. Yan. Okay. Next, for an, remember that yung 2 over t ay magiging 4 over t na. Tapos, i-integrate mo yan from 0 to t over 2 ulit, no? Times, integral pala ng f of t times cosine, no? 2n pi t over capital letter T dt. And lastly, yung bn hindi na kinocompute kasi yan ay laging 0. So tandaan natin ha, these are the formulas for finding AO, AN, and BN for even functions. Actually, galing din yan sa generic formula. In-applyan lang natin ng mga properties ng even function kaya nagkaroon tayo ng panibagong formulas. Okay? Now, let's solve another example.